All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Friday, September 9th, 2016. And this is Before the First Cup of Jules here on UCY.TV. Happy Friday, everyone. It is, again, a very muggy 77 degrees and overcast here in upstate New York. It looks like it's going to rain here again any minute. So I have a surprise for you today. If anyone remembers, I'll give you a Cupid doll. We have a guest this Friday. We promised back 2 weeks ago we would have her back because we were cut short by technical issues and only half a show. Ms. Virstyne Henry is joining us today. Happy Friday, Virstyne.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday to you. Happy Friday to everybody.
Yes, happy Friday to everyone and to all those moms and dads whose kids took off for school this week.
Oh, yeah. Right?
It's burned me out. It's been a really hectic week, but I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel with it being Friday. And we have a guest, so it's time to celebrate.
Oh, well, cool. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me back. I appreciate it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. So what is going on? We talked last time about some of your new aspirations and your musical career and some of the things that you were doing there in Austin. What is going on with that? What's your website? Let's start out with that.
Oh, it's V as in Victor, IRSTYNE, Henry, VirstyneHenry.com. Just one word.
And can people get samples of your work there?
Yeah, you can go to the music page. If you go, you roll down and then you go to the music page. And then you can listen to all the singles. I have 3. You can listen to the music for free.
Oh, great. Well, maybe toward the end of the show we'll play. I think we played 2 of them 2 Fridays ago. Maybe we'll play the third one if you have it later.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yes,
that'd be cool.
Today I'm going to leave it totally up to you today. So whatever you want to talk about.
So do you have people that listen in and they're in the chat rooms in the morning?
Yes, Chad is all listening. Mm-hmm.
Yes, you can do. Okay, so we're going to do like a I don't know. We're going to do like a little, I don't know, I want to say field trip, but that's not the word. Anyway, if you go to my website, I'm going to show you some of the artwork and talk about some of the artwork.
Oh, great.
If anybody wants. So could you follow along?
Sure. I just dropped your link into chat, and we all love field trips.
Yeah. Make it interactive. That's the word.
Yes.
That's not field trips. This is a way, I don't know. Okay, I got the word interactive. I'm going to make it interactive. So,
did you see that school bus that they had designed for the kids going to Mars? And speaking of interactive field trips, they used LCD, I believe it was, in place of the windows, and they put the kids on the bus, and then they'd run like full 360-degree HD imaging. You know, you got all those Mars rovers up there cruising around. And, like, the kids literally felt like they were on the school bus driving across Mars. It was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Talk about immersive experience and preparing our children for getting off the rock, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's really intense. No,
for the next manned mission where they're doing reality TV from Mars.
Yeah, I never heard about that.
Oh, yeah, that was a while ago. But they are talking about manned missions to Mars, so I thought it was interesting.
We need to clean up stuff here first, you know. But I love science fiction, and I'm a Trekkie, and I love that stuff. But I don't know, man. Like, we have a lot of stuff going on here that needs to be taken care of before we can think about that.
Yeah, you know? Before they bail on us.
Yeah. Yeah. For real.
All right, so we're out at VirstyneHenry.com.
Okay. So look at the wall. So I want to tell you, my website is done. I did the website, but my best friend, an artist, Narciso Palma, he did the artwork and the photography.
I love this homepage with all the little, with all your little posters on the walls. I mean, this is really great.
Yeah. So we talk about, and even if you're not a, I guess, quote unquote truther, you know, everybody's kind of, I feel in this, where, you know, you are a slave to the job that you work at, you know, you cubicle slaves. and you go into this job that you're not really happy with, but you're doing it to survive, and you just kind of become a drone and a zombie and stuff. And he actually sell these shirts that say "fuck a 9 to 5."
Ah,
Yeah, and
been there, done that.
Yeah. Anytime we go out and he wears that shirt, people always stop him and are like, "Oh my God, where do you get that shirt?" No matter what race, what gender, what age. I mean, people really, really vibe with that shirt. So we were talking about the whole concept of being kind of like in your cubicle slave, but still finding a way to be creative and to still have beauty. Not saying that there's beauty in being a cubicle slave, but, not letting the system kill you, finding your joy. Does that make sense?
It absolutely does make sense. And,
Yeah.
Even though technology is a double-edged sword, I do have to say that working remotely has done some of that. I mean, instead of being stuck in the office for many years like I was, it gave me freedom to be able to work remotely. And even though I was still slave to, it was even more than 9 to 5 though when you're remote. But even though I was slave to the corporate clock, I could do it on more of my own schedule and,
Yeah. And
have more personal time. But in the end, it burns you out either way. So it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Makes Jack psychotic, or worse than that.
Makes Jack have some mental issues.
Yeah, so go back to the picture. We came up with this concept, and his roommate had just happened to have this piano, and it's amazing. She painted it pink, and it's out of tune. It doesn't you can't really play it, but it's beautiful to look at. And he built little cubicle walls around it, and then I picked the pictures, and we kind of figured out what we want to put in the walls, and everything's kind of specific. But
so that is a real photograph.
Yeah,
on your site. That's great, because I wasn't really sure as to whether or not it was a photograph or a photorealistic sketch or not.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I mean, sometimes it looks like it's real, and then
right.
sometimes it looks like it's a sketch.
Yeah, digital, I guess. But yeah, I see what you mean. I see how you can think that. I just never thought about that.
I think it's the colorization that does it.
Yeah, the color, and it just, I don't know. Anyway, it's
great. I love it.
We put a lot of thought into it. So if you can see, at the top right, no, I can't tell my left from right. The top left, it says lice, right? And then you see a guy with a cap and gown on that has a loan, he has a ball and chain and loan, right? Because a lot of people are
be a good college student and get your loans.
Yeah,
make your payments and build your credit. Yep.
Yeah. And then the whole thing from at the top left, do not obey, and 12 years a cubicle slave. And we have some fillers. If you can see the orange, there's a thing that says Big Brother's watching, and there's there's a lot of stuff, on the wall. I guess it'd take a long time to go through all of it, but you can kind of look and see what you can find on the wall. Oh, and the one big thing is on the right side, you see the swastikas. And
I see that.
Symbol. Do you know what that means?
Well, swastika is actually a really ancient symbol. It is not the Nazi symbol. I mean, they kind of bastardized it and took it on for themselves.
You are right. You are right.
Yeah, it's everlasting life or something.
Auspiciousness, I guess. That's what I looked it up. I came up with auspiciousness. Anyway, when I lived in Asia for 2 years. I lived in Taiwan, and when I went there, and I traveled to Thailand too, and Singapore, and other places in Asia, and I was just like, wow, these are all over the place. What's up, So I had to look up
the Nazi invasion.
I was like, dang, did Hitler hit up?
Hitler was here too.
Yeah, he was gangster. Damn, So. So anyway, that's the Falun Gong symbol, though. And I don't know. I don't remember who. I don't think I talked about it on the show. But anyway.
No, you probably, when you were in Salvanor's show.
Yeah, but yeah. So anyway, I'm trying to see how I can sum this up really fast. But it's kind of like a philosophy, compassion, truth, love, right? Mm-hmm. And it was started by a guy in China. Maybe he took philosophies from somewhere else, but the Chinese government actually commented on it, saying that it was really good. It was keeping people disciplined and organized, and they praised it. But then people started to ask questions. They started to question things.
Oh, damn them.
Yeah.
You know how dangerous those free thinkers are.
Yeah, for real. But they started to question things, and the government didn't like that, so now they condemned it. And they're killing people over it. I mean, like, and organ harvesting. Anybody interested, they can go to YouTube and type in Falun Gong or Falun Dafa, FALUNDAFA or FALANGONG. And there's some documentaries on YouTube about it, because I don't want to get into the gory details, but it's really disturbing. And but also,
is it a ceremony or what?
No, it's just like meditation, and I mean, I know that's probably a little deeper than that. I'm just trying to sum it up, but like meditation and breathing, and just like Tai Chi stuff, and also just the philosophy of compassion and truth and love, and being a human being. Basically, it's bringing them back to being human being, because people in societies like that have a government that tells them what to think, and blacks out the TV and permits them from getting information. They don't think for themselves, so it's bringing them back to their humanity.
Yeah, and you mean kind of like our society now too, pretty much.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why I also consider it a very special symbol. For me too, because I also have been, when I was over there and I was looking at China, and I was I was in Taiwan, but Taiwan is independent from China, but China's still like, you're my bitch, like they're like, no, we want to be independent, kind of like we were to England,
Yeah.
So I just over there just thinking that thinking about what Taiwan has gone through with China, and how our society is becoming like that, and how Taiwanese society is becoming like that too, because they don't question anything, but they think that they're free because they're not with China. They're independent, but they still are very. They look up to the U.S. a lot.
Yeah,
the Western world a lot.
Don't look up to us.
So much without questioning anything, though. And it's sad, because I feel like if any one of my Taiwanese friends ever hears this, I don't want them to be insulted. But what I'm trying to say is that they are so, generally speaking, they're very trusting culture. Mm-hmm. They're very open and friendly. But it's to their own detriment, because there are people that will take advantage of that.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's kind of like the U.S. is the bad influence big brother.
Yes, totally.
Don't be watching us.
Yeah.
I mean, I know you want to trust us, but don't. And it's not us. You can trust us. Just don't.
It's the government, but every government is like that. It's like because even with, getting back to talking about, I don't know, I think we brought up Bill Gates, getting back to that. It's like he also wouldn't be able to go into India and do that if there weren't people in the government colluding with him.
Absolutely, and Bill,
we're betraying their own people, so it's not a, I'm not like recruiting, like I'm not like, what am I trying to say? I'm not excusing him at all, but I'm just saying he wouldn't be able to do this. He can't do this alone.
Billy, good old Billy Gates.
Billy?
No, Billy Gates bought an entire population of people, and now there's over, was it 1 billion or 2 billion people that are in the process of getting put on the universal ID program over there from IBM. Yeah, so you know what? Poor India. India sold its people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sure that China has also. One thing I saw recently about China that was very disturbing, they have this whole robotics revolution going on, and it's happening everywhere. But China in particular, probably one of the biggest news stories I saw, we always joke, kind of, not really, but kind of, about the robots coming to take all the jobs. And
no, but they really are.
they really are. Yeah, absolutely.
They really are.
And
that's why I'm getting into music. At least I haven't seen a robot that they could like make do music. They
wait.
No,
yesterday, Beidou, Google's equivalent in China, and the guy who created Beidou actually is an ex-Googler, by the way, has their AI looking at artwork and creating music out of it. Yeah, I saw that yesterday. But to go back to like selling their people, like China, so you had all these farmers that left the countryside in China and they moved to the big cities because that's where the money was and they had all the factories, right? And even though they only paid them, 8 cents a day to work in the factory, it actually was more money than what they were making when they lived in the country, right?
Yeah.
And despite the fact that, we had all kinds of horrible working conditions and whatever, but I just saw maybe a month or so ago, China's on this big automation push. They just displaced 60,000 factory workers in one set of factories, and they're looking at automating these factories completely. So you might just need 1 or 2 people to run the show. Everybody else is out of a job.
Well, what does it take for them to realize that, like, they can't grow stuff? They can't, like, get together and, what's...
And their industrial revolution has polluted the country so horribly bad.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Yeah, I taught at the Chinese prep school in LA, and I would get some kids from China, and I remember this girl in my class, she would write essays about how the pollution was so bad, like all the time.
How sad.
Yeah, and she was like 13. It would just make me, because I let them do free writes on their essays. They had certain guidelines, but so it's interesting. I got a lot of good, got to know them really well through their essays, and that was one of my students. Yeah, it just broke my heart. And I haven't, and I've heard it. I've been to Hong Kong. Hong Kong wasn't bad, but I heard like mainland China and Beijing and like the big cities. I don't know if the whole country is polluted bad.
I think so. It's all heavy metals. Well, all the waterways are polluted with heavy metals and toxic. They haven't had any environmental protection regulations. That isn't anything that happened in China. And so now they're looking at it and they're going, oh, look at this ecological disaster. They don't even have air to breathe over there.
Yeah, I know.
They're buying canned air.
Yeah, I know.
From Canada.
No, they really are.
No, I know they are.
I know. No, because somebody told me that, and I was like, bullshit. I was like, you're not gonna sucker me. And I looked it up, and there's a company.
Yeah.
That sells like canned air.
Pigment.
I have asthma. I couldn't stay long over there anyway.
No, me neither.
I still
with
would
my
like to
allergies.
Yeah.
I don't think I do very well. So, do the people over there in China, since you've been behind the Chinese censorship curtain, because I'll tell you, for all the years that we've been doing internet radio, there are only very few blips ever out of China. Just so you know, when I look at stats and I look at where people come from to listen to the network, only every once in a blue moon do we have a Chinese hit on YouTube or on the website, and I figure it's probably somebody in Z's cabinet that's checking out what we're doing. Yeah. But do the people there like Americans, or do they have a suspicion? Like, what type of...
China?
Yeah.
I went to Hong Kong, and Hong Kong, I haven't been to the mainland. Hong Kong is almost like a different country. Technically, it's China, but their way of life compared to mainland China is really different. The citizens own guns there.
They were British ruled until just recently,
exactly.
right?
Yeah, by the British, and there's also a lot of Indians there and people from Pakistan, and it's very in Britain, and it's very diverse, and it's great food, and it's a lot of shopping. It's real futuristic. It's a really, really cool. City. And
could you get like Western food and stuff there? You weren't eating. Dog and stuff.
Well, no.
I don't know. That worries me about places like China. Oh, yeah, it's chicken.
They have the stereotypes about us. I don't think that's a bad question. They have McDonald's and KFC and stuff. There, but they also had really just classy restaurants. They were by the sea, so they had like seafood restaurants, and they had like French cuisine and Thai food and stuff like that. And then traditional, Chinese food and Hong Kong food, and then each province has their style of food, just like in the States, you can get like Cajun, and then you go to the west side and you get like Mexican, and then you go to the east side and you can get like clams, so here. So in China, they have different provinces with different cultures and different styles of cooking as well. But yeah, I think a lot of people are genuinely curious. I got a lot of stares being a black person because they don't see a lot of black people, and then usually if they do, they're Africans. So they can tell because they're like, oh, she has dark skin, but she sounds different. What's wrong with her? What's up?
Right. Yeah. Well, you don't have the accent because I mean, Africa definitely has a different accent.
We have different cultures. We're culturally very different,
well, plus you speak English. I think probably most Africans don't.
Oh, no, most Africans do. They have an accent. Most Africans speak a lot of languages, actually.
Really? Well, yeah, you're right, because there was a lot of colonization there. So you also had the French section and whatever.
Yeah. But what was I going to say? So, yeah, I mean, but for the most part, I mean, I didn't take offense to it. People are I think they're very curious. And I went to, I've been to the Czech Republic, and that was the first time I went out the country, and I got a lot of stares. And that wasn't too long after Havel, was out of power.
I don't remember that one. What year was that?
It was somewhere. It's somewhere after 1995.
Oh, so that was early on.
Yeah, but I don't remember. It was 98. I don't remember. But anyway, so I got in the smaller towns. A lot of people have never seen a black person most of the time. So when I first started experiencing that, I was really offended. And then a few days later, I just chilled out and, realized most people were really curious. Nobody tried to hurt me,
Right.
I think they're just parts of the world too. They're poor parts of the world. In Taiwan, it takes a month for somebody to save up to buy a plane ticket just to go to America. It takes a whole month's salary.
At least, I would say.
Yeah, at least. I knew somebody that saved up for 5 years to be able to study abroad because, most people can't travel. So the only information that they get about people outside of their culture is on TV, sadly, because that's how a lot of people are brainwashed too, through stereotypes about certain cultures.
Right, and how many TVs do they have in the outback of Taiwan?
Yeah, well,
pedal your bike to watch it.
Yeah, no, Taiwan is very westernized.
Is it?
Yeah. No, it's funny. Because I thought the same thing. I was really surprised. It was very westernized. I mean, they have like Mac computers. They have really cool malls. Because everything they call it Taipei, like the Taipei and like Hong Kong are like the New Yorks of Asia.
Now, I've heard of Taipei before, but
yeah.
I guess I never envisioned Taiwan as being advanced. I always thought it was kind of more of an outback little tiny nation.
No, they had one of the tallest buildings in the world for a period, and now it's like the sixth tallest building, and they turned that into a mall, which is amazing. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful building. It's really westernized. It's really modernized. I'm gonna have to show you some pictures. I'm going to show you pictures, which is fine. Like, it's good to ask questions because I think, I didn't really know what to expect when I got there either. I'm picturing I'm going to be riding the bike and, a typhoon is going to be coming. Like, I don't know. That's what I had in my head, so.
Well, because that's the type of images we see, right?
We see, exactly. Yeah. And they think, and it's funny because what's funny? This will make you laugh. They're really like curious and like about the gun issue here. So like a lot of the kids, they're like, yeah, I want to go to America so I can get a gun. And
what little kid doesn't want to play cops and robbers or something? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, some people are scared to come to America because they think we're just shooting each other up over here all the time. I mean, everybody has a gun.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
like people have keys. Everybody has a set of keys. Like, they think everybody has a gun. I swear.
Well, let the Chinese think that. Don't come over here.
Yeah. So
Not the people. Not the people. I'm talking the government, the military.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But yeah, I mean, but I think also too, I had a very pleasant experience because I also took time to try and get to know people and try to learn their culture. And I'm actually learning Chinese right now.
Are you doing Mandarin?
Mandarin, yeah, because and they don't speak Taiwanese. It's funny, same story that the British people did to the Native Americans, the Chinese did to the indigenous people of Taiwan. So that's why people speak Chinese there. The descendants of China, a lot of the Chinese people, Taiwanese, or the people in Taiwan are a lot Chinese descendants.
Now, isn't Tibet's pretty similar, but aren't they a combination more of Chinese and Indian, right? The Himalayas?
I don't know about Tibet. I know I should. I don't really know about that whole history over there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's a Chinese Indian combination because it's right in between the two. And then they have the mountains in between them. But China keeps trying to push their influence, and that's why you have these monks in protest to do all these horrible things like light themselves on fire.
Oh, man.
It's pretty awful.
Well, it's like, this is, and I'm not like justifying it again, but it's the same story around the world. Like, it seems like there's this battle. If you would have asked me this a few years ago, I wouldn't have bought it. But now, just the more I learn about technology and how it's just overstepping the people in charge of technology. Technology is neutral, right? But the people in charge is kind of. You don't think it
used to be neutral. I don't know.
Okay, so you're talking about like higher intelligence.
Yeah, I mean they're really starting to imbue it with its own abilities to draw conclusions and things and make decisions, and that's where really we should be drawing the line.
Oh man!
It's completely on.
So it's like Hal in 2001.
Yeah, like Hal, just like Hal, except a lot scarier. And Hal had a pretty. I'm used to Hal's voice. I'm sorry, Dave. I don't know.
No.
But yeah, I mean they are using technology to turn themselves into a technocracy to be able to manipulate, control.
Yeah.
And surveil everything. And if we think it's bad now with what they had before, at least we could play cat and mouse. Yeah. In the future, you won't be able to. It will be at a chip level. And I mean, they've already, all these microbiosensors that they've been working on, and how great. We can insert it into your body and it can detect the very second that you have a chemical imbalance and we can fix it internally. How are you going to get away from that? Because you're not.
Yeah, that's really terrifying. And there are people who are going to buy it. And they, as I saw something about, they're talking about these nanobots that can inject into you and like fix your immune system. So I'm like, oh hell no. Yeah,
that's that new shifting immune system that DARPA and IBM's got one, and there were a couple others.
Oh man, that's yeah. So this whole.
Did you see in that link I dropped you yesterday with all the notes that there was the, you said you saw the moth with the nanowires, right? How horrible that was? Yeah, but there was the other one there with the nanobots that they put into the cockroach.
I've seen,
They filled the cockroach's body with nanobots to see then if they could like do things inside of it and control its brain. They were doing remote control.
I've seen the picture. I haven't seen the video. I've seen the picture.
It's so disturbing to me that, at this point,
why do you want to control people? Like, why are they doing this? Who funds this?
Right.
Like, I know there are people that be justifying it. Oh, well,
it's the military that's funding all this.
It's science, and we need to, like, expand our minds and evolve. No, this is fucking, we're devolving.
Yeah, and it's evil. A lot of this control comes from this is the original. And I know it sounds like something out of the X-Files, but it's true. Search it, the Super Soldier Program from DARPA. And their fear is like, sometimes you have a soldier on the battlefield who ends up in a bad situation and he starts to panic or whatever. And they want to be able to take over at that point and then push the right buttons to make the right chemicals flow in his brain. And they'll have 360-degree awareness because not only will he have his bionic suit on, this is, some of these new things they're working on, but he'll also be augmented in some way maybe he can spit spider venom or something in the future. I mean, I don't see that is too far of a stretch, but that's where all of this insane pushing of the envelope is happening, is because of warfare, because it's going to help, keep Johnny safe when he's on the battlefield, because he couldn't afford college and had to sign up for a war he didn't agree with.
And one thing kind of disturbs me is the whole thing with the vaccine. So let me get back to the music thing.
Yeah.
And I want to tell you my fears about, not my fears, but my frustrations about wanting to be an artist and music, but also being an activist, like a health freedom activist. That's more of where my energies and all the research that I've done and continue to do lie in that area. Mm-hmm. And, it's just really hard too, because sometimes it gets really heavy, so I want to run to my music because that gives me peace and it makes me remember what I'm fighting for, It's just,
it's your happy, warm place.
It's a happy, warm place, but it's also a reminder, we go to jobs, we go make money so we can survive, but also, people love music and art and, being with their friends and good food and,
and nature.
And nature and trees and, puppies and
cute little kittens.
Kittens, we love these things and we do it because, but I think sometimes we get sucked into just trying to survive that we forget that those are the things that feed our spirit and we lose our soul,
Yeah. And I think so many people are in that boat right now. There's no outlet. And really the only outlet that we've been really groomed, and these are the non-creative people that we've been groomed to depend upon, is the television. That entertainment gives us that dopamine push that's kind of the warm and fuzzy feeling. And I had read a study back quite a few years ago now about some psychological experiments that they were doing, looking at people. They had some sort of skull cap on and they were doing, fMRI readings or something. Mm-hmm. And they had people watching television shows and they saw a marked difference in the chemicals that the brains were producing in people who were seeing reruns of their favorite shows versus people who were seeing something that they didn't care for, that wasn't a show that they watched. And they found that when people were watching reruns of their favorite shows, you were getting the same sorts of oxytocin and serotonin releases, dopamine, all those feel-good chemicals, as if it were their good friend or their somebody that they loved. And so they've put us in this state, if you've looked anything at the different brain states of consciousness, and that's something that probably a year ago I was going to do a whole weekend, and then we just never got to it. But it's absolutely true. Your brain, and we are a biological computer, and our brain works in different states of whether it's on high power, medium power, low power, or we're on trickle charge. But each different state actually is a different level of our thinking capabilities. And once you get into the creative state, you can actually be kind of at a way higher level, than thinking, because you're communicating in a different format beyond words, right? You're communicating with images, with colors, with sounds. Those are all forms of communication. But when you're watching the television, that is dampening you and it jacks you down to that state. That's one state above sleeping. So you're in that trance where you're very suggestible, but you are not outputting. You are sucking in information. And I really think that is where the disconnect happens.
Oh, totally. Totally. And,
it's soul sucking.
And plus, exactly. And that plus the food that, that they feed you too, all the stuff in the food, it dumbs down your brain and
it makes you cloudy and
I know this for
the
myself.
Biological processes.
Yeah. I noticed, allergies and asthma and food. When I started eating right and stopped eating processed food and chips and stuff, which are great, by the way, but it was really hard for me to kick. I joke, but I felt I feel like I'm trying to, I'm a crackhead.
Yeah.
Trying to quit Reese's peanut butter cups.
I know.
I knew somebody that said that they were trying to quit like junk food, and they got to the point where they would have to spray their food with Windex.
That's
So
a good
when
idea.
they throw it in the trash can, they know that at least they won't eat it because they know that it's sprayed with the. Like, I've done that. I'd be like, "Fuck this cookie," and I throw it away, and then like, later I'm like climbing in there.
Should that be the title of today's show?
Yeah, but totally, like I understand it's very addictive. So, when I was also researching this stuff when I was teaching in Taiwan too, I had to stop I couldn't give my kids junk foods. I either gave them erasers, pencils, or I made like kale, like kale chips for them or something and brought it eventually. But
well, it's really, I believe, the high fructose corn syrup. If you look at what was that?
It's really bad too. I mean, it's a lot. The aspartame,
the high fructose corn syrup is another one of those dopamine dangling carrots. Like if you start looking at dopamine as the acting chemical that they've been utilizing to manipulate and control, you start to realize that there are connections between all these things that are enslaving us. Television is number one. Your addiction to your mobile devices and your computing devices, and soon to be your wearables, and then your insertables, right? We've looked at all that. Yeah. That's all coming. Every time you get a message, that excitement that you get, that little zzz, that's a dopamine dose.
Yeah, I turn off my it's so weird, Jules, because you're telling me this, and I have read up on this, but instinctually I've felt this. Like I turn off my buzzer. People are like, why not? I never leave my buzzer on my phone, rarely, unless I'm really expecting somebody, But I noticed that I felt like, when I first got my phone and I'd get like a text and I'd hear the ding ding and be like, am I fucking Pavlov? What is that?
Yes, Pavlovian, exactly.
Pavlov's dog?
Yes.
That's what it felt like. And I'm just like,
that's what they're doing. They're training us, that little dingy bell.
Well, I noticed that in school too. That's what they do in school.
Yeah, they do.
To train you, from class to class and bells and times and stuff, and
Yeah, it's scary. Well, research has shown that not only do our devices do that to us, but high fructose corn syrup, sex, gambling, like any of these things that are bad for us, all cause that same chemical reaction in our brain. And I think that's why the junk food, high fructose corn syrup's in everything. It's in everything.
Yeah, it's in everything. Like it really is. Because I was like, I'll just stop eating Oreos. And what else did I used to love to eat, which is basically poison? Oh, I loved Cocoa Krispies. It was just like like a bowl full of drugs, like
the American 1975 diet. Even fatty foods produce dopamine. But what's interesting about the high fructose corn syrup is that it's 90% of all corn produced in the United States is GMO. So there's a good chance that any of that corn syrup is full of glyphosate. In your food. So you're getting a double dose. They're messing with your dopamine and they're loading you full of pesticides that then have a very marked effect on some of your different enzymatic processes. Brandon Tuberville, right? Yeah. Well, Brandon introduced us to a doctor out of Australia. Oh, you guys interviewed Dr. Lucier.
Yeah.
Yolanda Lucier. Yeah. And we did an interview back in 2012, and she had just made this connection between the cytochrome P450 enzyme and the metabolization of SSRIs. And she'd been in the prison system for a lot of years doing psychiatry, right? And she was finding that all these people that had committed these mass murders had never had any history whatsoever of violence before they committed whatever atrocity that they were put away for. And so she had someone who had a lab, who owned a lab that she knew. And so she got permission to get DNA swabs. And she had found that in the vast majority of these people, they had all had the suppression of the cytochrome P450 enzyme, which caused them to be more sensitive to the drugs, right? Those are people who only can take half dosages or are always quote unquote sensitive to things. And then they would be overdosing them by giving them a standard dosage of the psychotropic drugs. But
yeah, and you can induce schizophrenia that way. There are different ways that you can become schizophrenic.
Yeah.
There are different reasons, but there is drug-induced schizophrenia.
But she proved, and I mean, this was a doctor with 50 years of experience. I mean, she wasn't any fly by night, you know. And
none of these doctors
came after her.
No, but you see, that's the thing. None of these doctors that are coming out and speaking about vaccines, they're all top of their field. They're all super smart, and a lot of them are really naive. Not to I'm not making fun. I know I'm laughing, but I'm just saying that now that I think of it. Because they are just doing their job by speaking up and telling the truth. They're not thinking that anybody's going to come after them.
Right. And they're thinking one of the reasons why I'm still doing this is because I told my husband, you know, what country do I live in? Okay. I always grew up. I mean, one of my biggest double-edged swords is my mouth. I just can't keep it shut. That's why this is a good outlet for me. But, you know, I was like, what country do we live in? It's always been my right to open my mouth and say something, you know, and it's really hard for me not to. So if you're going to tell me that now it's no longer legal under whatever twisted definition you have, if you're going to be censoring me because of not being family friendly, or advertiser friendly. Did you see all that going on about YouTube? They're taking down videos and stuff.
Oh, no.
And we have the Google Truth algorithm, you know, to be able to rank, you know, based upon whether or not your webpage has approved truth. They have a database of all the facts that they've deemed to be like encyclopedic.
Oh, well, no, it's in worse. It's in, you know, even in one of the reasons I had to quit teaching it's all in the literature too. They'll say stuff like, you know, they'll write essays that children have to read in the textbooks, saying that vaccines don't cause autism and
oh yeah, because they're all funded by corporate entities.
By Billy Boy.
Yeah. Well, his
Pearson Education
and his Common Core.
Oh, fuck him and fuck Common Core. I can curse on here, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Okay. We'll have to put.
I hate Common Core and oh my God. Oh my God. I'm not the only one. Lots of people hate Common Core. Lots of teachers.
Here, let me ask you about something. I have a friend who was a teacher for 30 years. We've been, our families have been friends for a lot of years. She's retired now. And when Common Core first was being pushed, I had reached out to her and said, hey, you know, I'd like you to come on my show, and we don't have to tell anyone who you are or anything. I just need you to come on my show and give me your real unveiled opinion. She was one of my favorite teachers ever. I mean, this woman, I had her for a couple years. We had advanced courses, you know, and she was my teacher for those. And this woman just totally opened my mind to free thinking. You know, that's what she was about. She was a hippie. You know, she started teaching in the 60s, and it was all about doing really hard stuff and making the kids think for themselves. And so when all that happened, I know she was doing it. She refused to come on. She refused to come on and say anything. And I mean, I've known her now for 30 years, and she's like me. She can't keep her mouth shut. So why did she
still teaching?
No, but she has a pension. That's what I was thinking. And I mean, a nice pension.
Okay.
That's the only thing that I was thinking that maybe would prevent her, because there's no other reason why. I really wanted an honest opinion of a teacher who has seen the environment for our children deteriorate. I mean,
there's two. I'll give you some references if you don't know. Do you know Lily Tang? Lily Tang Williams? Lily for Liberty .org or whatever. She's a Chinese immigrant. She lives in America now. And she's been on Alex Jones. She has her own. She's done some videos talking about breaking down Common Core and showing how they used to. This is how they used to brainwash people in China. She sees it because she's been through it before. And then there's John Taylor Gatto, and there's Charlotte Iserby. She's done a lot of good work on like the education system. Are you familiar with those people?
I've heard of Charlotte before, but I've never really dug into any of the work. No.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean they can break that down a little bit for you. But yeah, I mean it's just basically teaching children to read and regurgitate information, but they're doing that with the test. And I thought, also too, I'm like, oh, if I moved to Asia, it'd be better. They'd have better, they'd be more serious about their education. And then since they are, but it's just test taking, and I even had a woman that wanted me to privately tutor her daughter because she said in her words that she didn't want her daughter to become a test taking machine.
And, even back in New York State, long before this Common Core, when I was in school, we had this whole program rolled out called Regents. Have you heard of the Regents program?
No.
New York State Regents is what it was called. And we were geared to take standardized tests at the halfway point and at the end of the year. And it was the entire state that did it on the same day. And so it was kind of like the precursor to Common Core. But one of the things that I liked about New York and why I'm really upset that now this is replacing it, being taught to be a test taker, that was only a part of it. It was kind of still on the cusp of where part of the year you got to spend time on creative pursuits, in the classroom, and the other half was this test. But now it's become the only goal for teaching. And so the whole year is about preparing for this test.
Oh, man. And it makes for a horrible environment for everybody because the teachers are stressed, the students are stressed, the principal's stressed, the administration's stressed. Like, everybody's stressed the fuck out.
Right. And not everybody takes tests the same way either. So you might have intelligent children who are listening and learning who aren't good test takers, who tank the results, and all of a sudden Miss Susie's going to lose her job.
You know what I've been thinking these past few months really is hitting me, and I'm not saying this to brag, I'm saying this to make a point. But I was in a gifted program when I was in junior high, and looking back as a person that's was a teacher, was a student in that system, now was a teacher, and now kind of outside from the inside looking in as somebody that's quote unquote awake. I really feel those programs are geared to kind of select out to pick the students, the students that are really good at absorbing and regurgitating information. To take tests, to then get into the quote unquote better schools, then to work for the corporations. But they're cogs. They're not. What they're doing is diverting those children's their aptitude, and steering it to the left side of the brain, and filter and shutting down their creative side of the brain. So their left brain. You know what I mean? They're more left brain, and they make that the most important thing. So there's no music, and there's no art, and there's no dance. And these are things that, help us to become whole thinkers. We need both. I'm not saying that the left brain is bad. We need a balance. There's a huge imbalance. And I think, looking back, I feel like it's purposely done now.
Well, all in the name of not having time because we have to focus our attention on these standardized tests. But I mean, if you go back to the classical education back in the Middle Ages and whatever, I mean, that's what it was. You had your trivium, you had all of your philosophies and your arts and your languages and whatever were all a part of spurring this creative process. And one of the things that I've been seeing in the classroom is that as they get more and more dependent upon technology, and I've been seeing some of the new uses for AI is all going to be about test taking for children. But they're profiling every single one of us, and children are no exception. And so as you have Microsoft or Google that's sponsoring some test in a classroom, and we've already seen that, at the end of the test there was a question about, I've told the story before on my show, but you probably didn't hear it. They asked a very general question at the end of the test: would you ever drive in a Google self-driving car? To a third grade class to get an answer. And my daughter, I had to laugh. I'm like, oh my God, the white shirts are coming. She typed in the box, no, I wouldn't, because they could drive me to the police station.
Whoa.
But I mean, that's what I've always kind of joked about. You get in, the doors lock, and they're like, okay.
It's like, what is that movie? Minority Report.
Yes, exactly.
They take over your car, like crazy. Yeah, my car can do that. And what I have a, what is that car? I can't think of the name of it. I'm sorry, it's a little bit early for me. I'm an artist. But I have the OnStar system inside. And
right.
They can they can slow it down if it gets stolen. Like, pull the car over or something like that, or slow it down, and it's crazy, you know.
They can track you. They can open that microphone.
Yeah, they can do that for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, that was just the beginning. OnStar was probably one of the first connected Internet of Things. We've talked a lot about Internet of Things and Internet of Everything here, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. The way that it's happening now, you're going to have diagnostics and, what are they called? Gyroscopes and whatever, and then a whole communication system, and each car is going to be able to talk to each other on the road, to be able to do swarm technology, so they don't hit each other. There's huge amounts of money going into AI and transportation. Elon Musk, Toyota, Ford, they're all in the middle of it. I just saw Mercedes.
Think, are some of those people too trying to make cars that aren't polluting the environment? Do you think that it's all?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of interesting battery technology now where they're able to reverse. I'm trying to remember what I think it was reverse combustion. We did the story. So they were able to take hydrogen and oxygen, I don't know, and split them. I don't know if they were splitting or putting them together, but there was some new technology that would allow us to have this internalized reverse combustion that they can take the fuel out and then put the fuel back in again. Mm-hmm. And they're thinking that that could be a big push for the future. But I think before that comes the self-driving thing, being able to push a button on your cell phone, getting rid in the name of climate change and in, oil bed, which, by the way, I'm sure you know Corbett, right? Or at least have heard
James
Corbett report. James Corbett,
we actually interviewed him, yeah.
He's awesome.
He's really sweet, and he's super smart, and he's super humble. Because we'll ask him something, he's like, well, I really don't know about that. But, and then he'll just go off. Yeah. You're just like, damn. You're like, wow, you're like an encyclopedia.
Yeah, I enjoy Corbett a lot.
He's a sweet guy. I like him a lot, too.
Well, he did that documentary about big oil, and it tied it all the way back to the pharmaceutical companies, at the very beginning. And I'm like, no way. But if you look at it right now we have this death of big oil that's happening, right? All in the name of climate change. We're going to go to all these 21st century solutions of synthetic biology. A lot of the main synthetic biology report to Congress, do you know who submits that?
No.
The Department of Energy. Makes you wonder why. But see, they've been utilizing microbes and trying to come up with synthetic ways to reproduce. They're using cells as little chemical factories now. Is what they're doing. Oh. A lot of the E. coli, it's just about every paper we're reading about this, that, and the other thing. They've modified E. coli to be able to do this or produce that or put it inside your body, and it'll tamp down an inflammation and make you drugs to fix you. Yeah. And it was just yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, we're almost out of time. Go for it. Show the art. Mm-hmm. If you guys are following along, if you're still on the page, you can scroll down and look at, there's 3 pieces. So,
wow, that sheep one is
yeah.
That almost made me think Pink Floyd for a second.
Yeah, so scroll down past the faces, my face, and then...
Oh, wait, let's refresh what site we're on. We're on VirstyneHenry.com. Everyone get out there.
Okay, so there's I think, is my faces. You don't want to see my faces, but I think your listeners would be more interested than the last 2. So do you know what this is a reference to? Can you guess?
I'm looking at it. I see being wrapped up by the snake, and I see Mr. Wall Street Piggy with his hat on, and then I see the bull and the horse jumping into the fire, and the sheep's just kind of sitting there, and he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He looks almost he could be a little wolfy face, and he's got his little sheep suit on and his sunglasses.
Well, I didn't think about it like that.
I like that. That would make a great T-shirt.
It's it's based off of Animal Farm. It's kind of an Animal Farm meets They Live. That's what we were having.
Ooh. Well, I just posted. I just posted a story the other day how they've traced the making of Animal Farm the movie back to an actual CIA financed operation. Did you see that?
No.
Oh, well, remind me after the show. I'll drop you that link.
they financed the movie?
They financed the movie, and it was made in the UK to boot. They didn't even make it here.
Oh, I knew. I think I knew it was made in the UK because I think aren't the voices British? British voices.
You know,
It doesn't mean it's been made in the UK, but
yeah, I don't know. Half my family has English accents, so I don't really ever notice that. I don't remember.
Anyway, okay, last one, really fast. Just scroll down.
Oh yeah, look at that one.
So you guys can relate to this one.
That.
So this one,
awesome. I'm just looking.
Yeah, this one has a lot of detail in it. So it's like you can go on the website too, where the shop, and we're selling them as posters as well.
Oh, good.
And decals. And if you go there, you can get a bigger, more, and click on the picture, you can get a better view of what it looks like. But you can see. And
we're all behind a wall, a gray wall.
Yeah. But there's hope because some people found a way out. They've got some balloons.
Or are they falling in?
Oh.
I was thinking they were falling in, coming in on the internet. We're coming in for landing.
Oh, my God. No, they're getting
out. Internet balloons. Oh, well, lucky them then.
They're messing my vision. There's still hope. There's some people that are getting out. Well, I guess
that net is closing, you know. We talk about that net all the time up there, and that bag's closing.
Yeah. Well, they're getting out before they're caught, you know. And then there's a guy down there that has a balloon. If there's in this picture, there's lyrics in front. They have balloons in front. Mm-hmm. There's a guy selling balloons, and that's where they got the balloons from, and they're people.
Hey, your little blurb here, little boxes. They are closing us in from the sky. Where is that from?
Oh, these are the lyrics to the song. So each of the artwork has lyrics from the song under it.
Well, did you know about those CubeSats, the little box satellites, 10 by 10 by 10 centimeters that they're spraying all over the sky to connect the Internet of Things? Oh, I think you're prophetic, honey. I'll have to drop you that link. It's frightening. Yeah, millions of little boxes of Internet-enabled mesh to connect all devices and all things to the Internet.
Oh, wow. Well.
Oh, well, that's
Do you ever have any hope?
You know, I used to. And I think that's it. I do for a Friday, that's for sure. Well, thank you so much for being on, Virstyne. We'll have to do this again soon. Okay. All right, guys, have an awesome weekend, and I will catch you on Monday. VirstyneHenry.com. Everybody take care.
Listening to UCY.tv. Why don't